All right, welcome to Halitics. I'm Hal Ginsberg. So glad to be talking today. It is a Monday. So glad to be talking to fellow podcaster, left-handed leftist, Carlos Chales. Hey, Carlos, how you doing today?
What's up? What's up? I'm doing great, Hal. How about you? Always glad to be here with you.
Well, I was going to ask you, and I'm doing well. Thank you so much for that question about myself. Yeah, it was a pretty good weekend. It was nice. I got to see some family, so that was a positive. By the way, just so I hadn't even told you this, but no left-handed leftist next week. I'll be off Friday and Monday, heading out to California, and then back, of course, to see a nephew get married. Kind of exciting about that, actually.
Okay. Congratulations. So like the whole next week, you're just not doing a podcast at all? Wow.
No, just off this Friday and the following Monday.
So
just
none of
2
our
days off.
Oh, wow. You know what? It's okay because next Wednesday will be when my podcast comes out with both of us on it. So either way, you're gonna get some Carlos and Hal next week.
Yeah, no, I'm excited about that. I was going to say that I'm making up for, just 86ing you next week by being on your podcast this afternoon. And I'm really looking forward to it because I got to tell you what, Carlos, doing these podcasts is a lot of work when you're the host, when you're the lead, like I am, putting together a slide deck. And I'm just going to sit back and relax, watch Carlos, man the controls. I'll be the co-pilot. And
there we go.
Kind of more like an automatic pilot, actually, while you run the show. Looking forward to seeing that.
There we go. I hope to have you just a nice, relax, just get on there, do your thing, and I'll handle all the background stuff. I mean, how much you
I'm not doing my thing. I'm not doing anything. I'll answer questions. I'll do the yes, no thing, which politicians won't answer. We've seen that. What was the question? Did you saw that, right? I talked about that Friday where, what was it? Oh yeah. Cory Booker. So what was it? Is Netanyahu a war criminal? Yes or no? And then he gives this long-winded answer. And then she's like, you didn't answer the question. He's like, all right, I'll answer the question. He's even worse than Trump. And
I always love when they do that.
That wasn't the question.
That's always hilarious. Hey, when they say, you know what? That's a question a lot of people have been thinking about.
That's right.
It is something that like I think about and I don't think about, and I'm not going to answer.
That's right. But it was funny that he said, "Sorry, I'll answer your question," and then he answers a different question. So I guess that's the way you answer questions you don't want to answer. But the thing that I liked about that show, they wouldn't have it. They weren't having it.
No, which is good. I mean, it's finally. I mean, not finally, because people are doing it, but it's good that there are these platforms that. I don't know. It's good because they're going on this platform not answering the questions, but actually being made to like see that they don't answer questions. But on the flip side, they keep going on like these specific podcasts where they feel like it won't be as adversarial. Where I don't know who those like two women are from the I've Had It podcast, like hey, like where they came from. Are they from politics, celebrities, stuff like that? But they do this with Cory Booker, but then they also talk well about like Gavin Newsom at the same time. So I'm kind of like, you take your good with your bad, I guess.
Did you think were they too easy on Booker in your opinion? They were too easy on Newsom, or both, or
no?
They should have been even harder on Newsom than they were, because I didn't see the Newsom segment.
Oh no. I don't think that they've gone on. I've just seen them in clips talk about Gavin Newsom, and it's been very like, oh, they like how Gavin Newsom hits back in Trump and all. They remind me of like, and we're actually gonna talk about this too. They remind me of like the embodiment of like No Kings people, who is like they don't like Republicans, but they also like have slight issues with like how Democrats are showing up at this time. But I honestly think, hey, I'll give it to them. I'm glad that they are pro Palestine people, or at least seem to be pro Palestine people. I just think that there should be more of a critique of the overall party and over these like certain figures as well.
Yeah, no, I'm with you 100%. That said, I would have done it a little differently, but I thought they got a lot out of, or at least they showed up Booker to a degree that we haven't seen, and I was happy about that. I also thought, and Carlos and I are kind of talking shop here, talking about other podcasters, people that we like, people we don't like, podcasts we've seen. I thought Brianna Joy Gray made a good point when she was talking about Ro Khanna. I don't know if you saw that, about how like she's glad Khanna comes on her podcast periodically, but at some point she's starting to wonder if it's really worth it because she's giving him an audience and making it appear that he's somewhat progressive, but he still repeatedly rejects her questions that blame the Democratic elites and Democratic establishment. He always sidesteps them. And she started to say, is it really worth it? And I got to say, I don't think it is.
Really? I'm actually, that's something I struggle with too, because I look and say, at least Ro Khanna's coming on, people can ask some questions about it. But you're also right too. If all you do is just evade the question and you're not really answering the question when it's come time to challenge your own party, what is the point? Like, I may come to your side on this because, I mean, what is the point of Ro Khanna coming on or these other politicians coming on if they're not saying anything new? They're not like, you're not getting them to criticize their own party. I'll say this, at least in the Marjorie Taylor Greene spaces, it seems like she's willing to criticize and she takes the criticism too. So I don't know.
Well, she's further to the left than pretty much every Democrat at this point, at least when it comes to Gaza. I think, did she call for Medicare for all as well? Some kind of a talk about universal health care, something she said.
I know on the Tim Dillon podcast, she said that she doesn't like our current health insurance system, doesn't like health insurance companies, but also said we don't have the money to have socialized medicine because of look at our massive debt and all that. So I think she's in that trapped in the middle phase where it's like, all right, cool. I think the left I don't think the left normal left people. I think those kind of quasi conservative type of lefty people, they can get her and pull her over to the universal healthcare side. But I think it's going to take some actual concerted effort from your Sagers from Breaking Points and people like that who want universal healthcare but are also conservative.
That's interesting. I was not aware that Sagar supported universal care, but
I feel like he does.
I may be wrong. I have to go look into that. He's definitely moved to the left. Crystal Ball has pushed him to the left on some issues, not on every issue. Not on immigration, for example.
He's not on immigration.
Hard ass on that. All right, 240-242-5646 if you want to join us. I will take some calls. Also, I do want to urge folks that they haven't yet done so. You see the thumbnail we've got up there. I'm going to ask Carlos that question. We are going to talk about Gaza briefly because the ceasefire is really not holding. It's awful there. It's why exactly I foresaw this. I was terrified there would be more killing by Israel. They would not be accountable. And that's why I wouldn't give Trump credit because it wasn't a good deal whatsoever. It was just, you stuck a gun to a hostage's head and said, either I'll blow your head off now if you don't take this deal, or you'll probably have your head blown off tomorrow or the next day if you do take the deal. And they finally said, we'll take it. We'll get to all of that. Again, click subscribe now, click like, any kind of interaction with our videos we love. This is a question for you, Carlos. And I know you were out there, you were busting your hump, you were carrying signs to various No Kings events throughout Maryland. They were all over the place. I saw people on overpasses. I thought I saw you over at a few of them. We're joking here because Carl didn't go down. Will these matter? Will they matter?
I mean, not really. I think that it matters to the people who went because it makes them feel better. It makes them feel like, all right, cool, we did something. Did it actually do anything? No, not really. I mean, you had people show up to where was it here? At the NIH building, Chris Van Hollen spoke. I think you had Angela Alsobrooke spoke, stuff like that. It was just your basic, are we going to have kings? No, pro-democracy kind of message that really doesn't carry anything. There's no demands with it. And I mean, the also weird part is they were having people register for it, and that they were saying in the preparation that, oh, this is coordinated heavily with police and stuff. So it seems like either it's one of those FBI setup type of organizations, or it is just, good faith people who are just trying to do their, moderate mainstream little thing.
This is what I got to say about it. I see it the same way. This is a Democratic aligned event, although there were many groups that weren't aligned with the Democrats. I might have considered going and help, wear my Code Pink shirt and promoting the Palestinian cause, which is obviously still in terrible situation. But I got to say this, and I've told you this before, Carlos. I think we agree. Trump is worse than I thought. I mean, I have to say this administration, I think, has gone below, where the last one was, the last Trump one. And I can see why people would feel we have to go out there and say no to the thugs in our streets, no to, a government that's just incredibly corrupt. What does he do? He pardons crooks like George Santos who steal from the American public. And then, of course, he prosecutes Letitia James for what everyone agrees was not a crime. So if we're not going to go to no kings, and I understand why you don't want to go, and I understand the Democratic message is vote for us, we suck less. What are we supposed to do? What can we do? What will have an impact?
I think the protests that we've been seeing around ICE, the protests that we've been seeing in DC when there was the occupation there, those like actual grassroots type of protests, I say go support that. I obviously do your thing with writing your Congress people and all that, and do that. I mean, most of them don't really listen, but still write them. Show up to their offices, show up to town halls and public forums and stuff like that, and push people on. I just think the part that the No Kings really kind of leaves missing is the fact that there were no demands other than saying that Trump's bad. So it's like you didn't even have people out there saying we don't want ICE in our streets. We don't want the occupation of DC. We want expansion of the Affordable Care Act. We want the government open. Like there was no demands. It's just we don't want kings, which I understand from the Trump, like to say that against Trump, but also is this really the right place for no king? Trump's not a king. He was voted in by voters. So now we just need a different agenda and policies to get him out and have new people come in. I just don't see this as being a monarchy type of thing.
I would agree in general, although he is so he disregards completely the laws that don't suit him, that it seems like a king, someone who is beyond the reach of the legislative branch. And I think that's and judges too, right? He just ignores judicial orders. So I get the calling him a king. I'm just going to show this because his response is so childish. This is his 19-second Truth Social video, and it's so embarrassing. It's just awful, man. What are we going to do? Look at this thing. He's got his King Trump thing. I'm going to restart this I guess I can't, but he's got King Trump because it's no kings on his fighter.
Oh,
let's go through this. I mean, it's what is he, 8 years old? It's so pathetic. And look, we are both so critical of Obama. I just want to say this. We both so critical of Obama, but I mean, so much isn't it nice to have a president who's at least classy?
Yeah. No, I mean, you know what? I'll say this. It's nice to have a classy president, but it's also, I guess, really revealing to have this kind of president too. I mean, if you're going to be this way, you might as well do it up.
Right.
I guess you might as well put on a show with it.
Well, and this is the thing. If you're if someone tells you how great the Affordable Care Act is and it only makes healthcare even more out of reach for you, or at least that's your perception, then you're I don't care. I don't care if somebody puts a Burger King crown on their head and photoshops them into a F-16 and bombs, drops poop on people. I don't care. I just, if they'll make my life better, that's what I care about.
Yeah. Wow.
There you see dropping his poop on the protesters. I mean, it is amusing, I suppose.
Yeah. I'll say the one thing, I can't say that Trump isn't a funny person. Now is he a horrible person? Yeah. Is he also funny? Yeah. I mean, he's funny. His comms team is running up AI and making all these little videos and things. So I guess more credit to them for doing it. I don't know.
You can't beat something with nothing. He gave you something, and the Democrats give you nothing.
Yeah, they give you protests that are mostly, and also, can we also talk about how the protests are mostly just like older, middle income white people at the same time?
Is that
And
true? I don't know that.
yeah,
I believe you, but I really
no, yeah,
okay.
most of the no kings were just like older white people, and also it's seeing it because I saw clips of it. It looked almost like a parade of like people just standing on the sidewalks holding signs as if like you would think parade floats are going to come by. People were also criticizing that if it's a protest, why did they schedule it as it's going to be on a Saturday from 10 o'clock? Or I think from like 10 to 2 or 10 to 12 or something. Like it was very definite. This is when we're doing it. And it's like, it doesn't feel like a protest, more like an organized march. And then we're going to have this event. We're going to listen to some speakers. I saw some people playing like music, like it was a block party. It just seems very like neoliberal. And what's that thing they used to say? Let off some steam, allow people to get their frustrations out, and then go home and feel like I did a good thing. We made life better. Great, nothing else.
Well, as a younger black man, Carlos, why do you think the marches did not include more young, middle-aged African Americans in them? Because you said they were mostly older or middle-aged white people. Mm-hmm. There's plenty of middle-class blacks. I mean,
oh yeah,
I would have thought they'd be there. You'd see a certain number, and you mentioned also Brooks at the National Institutes of Health. So
I think black
what's
people,
that about?
We really just in speaking for just the black people I'm in conversation with, really, is that we didn't see this as something that was like for us. It was like, yeah, it's great that they're doing this. It's kind of like, what do you need us for? Like this isn't our fight. The No Kings thing is not our fight. Democracy, for a lot of black people, we don't really believe we've ever had democracy in this country. It's been more of just it's been like a fascist dictatorship, even for your middle class black people who they just don't see it as like something they need to go to. It doesn't seem like so pressing to our lives, more so just like, hey, it's a nice event. If you got time, you don't have anything better to do, then show up. I was talking to some family who were like, oh yeah, I would go, but I'm washing clothes and cleaning the house. So it was if they didn't have time or if they didn't have any other plans, then yeah, they would go. It just didn't seem like that much of a priority or anything.
What should organizers do differently if their desire is to have a truly multiracial coalition marching in the streets?
I think have demands that kind of make people want to show up. It feels like, oh, there's a purpose because we're fighting for something rather than, okay, I'm just fighting against something. Even when people were protesting ICE, they're not just saying, oh, well, ICE is bad. They're saying we want ICE to leave our city or stop kidnapping people. There's a demand there. There's not just like an empty void.
But Carlos, let me just play devil's advocate for a little bit. And also,
mm-hmm.
I sort of believe what I want to say too. We, both of us organized events, together sometimes and apart. And for example, I don't remember we ever did explicitly together a Medicare for All event, but I know I did. And again, the people at those events, you can look at this image here. I don't know if that woman in yellow, she looks like she might be Latino. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Probably white. I don't know. But whatever. The people who would come to those Medicare for All events tended to be middle-aged, middle class, or perhaps above, and white. So and there was a demand. We want Medicare for All. So, I mean, is it the sense that we're not we're not included? That there's, like you were even saying, right? I don't know, because you seem, I've always felt like with you felt like you were part of the community.
I think it also goes to like the people organizing and stuff like that too, where I'll say, yes, when I was at Our Revolution, I definitely felt a part of like Our Revolution. I think that when most people look at these organizations, people go with the organizations that they feel like are closest to them. I know a lot of people who do stuff in DC. They'll go to groups like Harriet's Wildest Dreams or like Free DC, and these specific groups that are known as like Black-led groups. That's where you see the majority of like Black people turn out. When you see a lot of these like Latino facing groups, they get majority of Latino facing people. Bernie Sanders group, Our Revolution, gets a lot of white people. I don't want to say just because Bernie Sanders is a white old guy, but I think it's just it was just a mind thing of people seeing it as like, all right, cool. This is where like your white leftist or progressive people go as well. There's like just certain categories that people go into, but I mean, it's the same at the same time where you have like Al Sharpton can turn out a bunch of middle-aged older Black people where he's not going to get a whole bunch of like middle-aged older white people to show up.
I'm sort of surprised that Al Sharpton could turn anybody out at this point. That's interesting.
They're there.
I believe you.
The legacy.
Right. It's a legacy, right? They remember, but it's
they remember Big
Al. It's unfortunate to me that that's true because I don't think he has been a positive. He's had a positive impact.
No,
on any communities, really.
No, he had people go to Costco, right? He was his big thing was, hey, DEI is going away, go to Costco. When the George Floyd bill came up, he said, hey, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. It takes time, and now we don't have a policy at all. When voting rights came up, he was one of the people who goes out there and says, hey, don't give Democrats a hard time. Now we look the Supreme Court may be taking away certain voting rights, certain voting rights laws. So.
Well, I don't think he ever even endorsed Mamdani, right? As far as I know, he interviewed him, but and we talked about that issue too, the challenges that Mamdani's faced getting Black votes. And I understand the concern there too, because some of his policies, it doesn't seem like are really targeting the really, what's the word I'm looking for? The generational poverty that's beset and the terrible circumstances that Black people face in New York City, especially compared to whites. And I get that. I get that they look at Mamdani and think, well, he's really more talking to white, younger voters and less affluent whites, but not poor Blacks. I understand that attitude, but the problem with that attitude, to my way of thinking, is, okay, I agree, Mamdani's not perfect, but he clearly is going to listen, and he's clearly so much better than Cuomo or Adams, who's out now, and Sliwa.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's also a generational thing too, where you have like younger black people are more supportive of Mamdani than Cuomo. I think for a lot of older Black people, and I want to do some more like kind of studying on this, but for some reason with like older Black people, they are stuck in this like I don't even want to call it moderate, like this centrist view of like politics in this like kind of pro-corporate establishment Democrat stance that I just to this day do not fully understand it. I've talked to even my biggest thing is going to my family members who don't really do politics and just ask them what are their thoughts, and they're like, oh yeah, no, I've heard of Andrew Cuomo before. He was nice when I saw him on CNN with like his brother Chris Cuomo, and it's more of that kind of like politics from like a 10 feet back approach. Like, okay, it's nice to watch. I don't really try to get into it. I feel like that's how Cuomo has support in the Black community, but the Black people who actually like know what's going on, a lot of them are like, no, I don't like Cuomo. Why
I think all of us do that, right? We all fall prey to this, kind of personal touch kind of thing. If, they said hi to me or I know them, I'm familiar with them. And
I mean, look at the left in AOC, or look at progressives in AOC. That's their version of
it's
progressive
awful.
Version of Cuomo is AOC.
It's awful. I know. I spend, it's like you throw up your hands and say people are going to just think she's great no matter what you point out to them. Let's just talk briefly about Gaza's. This is the issue that's closest to my heart. I am so brokenhearted at what Israel has done. It's gotten just worse and worse. And even now with this quote, ceasefire, unquote, obviously it's only a name. 9 more people killed. This is a Friday. I'm going to go right through this. Friday, 9 more people were killed, including 4 children. in Gaza. And I'm going to put up another headline there. You may lose a little bit. 3 Palestinians killed. Here, this is, let me see if I can get the whole thing on the screen, because sometimes I have a little bit of trouble with that. But you got 3 more Palestinians. This is another, we had 9 over on Friday. This is a Saturday headline. 3 Palestinians killed in Israeli attack on a refugee camp. So these are the refugees of Israeli violence. And then, Carlos, this morning, I got this last one. I'm just going to put this up real quick if I can, of from Al Jazeera, another Al Jazeera headline that Israel, I'll just put the whole thing up on screen. Maybe that's the best way to do it. Israel violated ceasefire 80 times. And since the ceasefire went into effect 10 days ago, 97 Palestinians killed, 80 breaches of the ceasefire. No one's really talking about this except for Arab media.
Of course.
I ask you, like, what do we do? What do we do? Because this is our country that supports this.
Yeah. Like you said before, it's only happening because we allow it. You might as well say it is the U.S. and Israel's genocide going on here. I mean, it's disgusting that under the cover of a government shutdown, we see Israel is breaking the ceasefire, and we've seen that multiple times. Whenever there was an United States holiday, that's when bombing would ramp up. Whenever Israel finds some kind of way to say, all right, cool, Americans won't really pay attention, there we go. And it also shows the hypocrisy from the quote unquote anti-war right, who isn't saying, hey, Trump, what are you doing here? But also from the Democratic Party, who will criticize Trump and for not having a peace within the genocide. But then now that Israel is ramping up bombing, is never going to call it out either, because they support the bombing at the same time. So there is no true anti-war party within the duopoly. What do we do from here? I honestly, this is what I can say. I don't know, to be honest, because I think politicians don't feel scared enough where they have to do anything, and I think that the ones that do know that it's not enough elected officials who are going to do anything, so they can just virtue signal. I mean, look at the people who voted for the Block the Bombs Act. They're not the ones coming out being like out and loud, like, hey, why are we still having this? We shouldn't be funding a genocidal state at all. They're just kind of being like, hey, anytime you ask me about it, I voted for this. Leave me alone.
Right. I wish I had an answer to that. I asked you because, I mean, I have nothing. I got nothing. And we see this Democratic Party. It's the same party that we have been lamenting, criticizing, decrying, pro-war party. I got this fundraising email from Abigail Spanberger running for Virginia governor. That race is just, I guess, in 2 weeks. Which, that's right, along with Slotnick in Michigan. But I was interested that I got this particular email from former First Lady Hillary Rodham Clinton, former Secretary of State.
Well, look at your friend,
former U.S. Senator. And my question to you, Carlos, is: does this help Spanberger to have a Hillary Clinton's name on her fundraising email?
I guess to certain to your normies, to the people who Abigail Spanberger wants to vote for her, I think it does. These are the people who they want a Hillary Clinton there, because remember, Tim Kaine is the senator of Virginia, so that probably wrestles up some nostalgia for those like Virginia moderate centrist types who are like, oh, remember Hillary Clinton? Well, remember Tim Kaine, even though no one remembers. I don't even think Tim Kaine remembers Tim Kaine. So
is he still in the Senate? Or
yeah,
no,
he's still there.
He's still there, right? Along two of the really, Mark Warner is even. That's how bad Virginia's Mark Warner is. He's worse than Tim Kaine.
Yeah, Virginia has bad like statewide lawmakers. It's so weird.
It's problematic.
Yeah, I mean, even Abigail Spanberger is bad. She's a total like corporate CIA goon. The woman also actually, I met her when I used to work for a Virginia state senator during his campaigning season. and she came to a fundraiser, and she is like she knows all the, and this is back when she was a U.S. House rep. She does all the same corporate elite talking points against like universal health care, things like that. Does the whole anti-socialism rah-rah thing. I don't. Ew.
Well, see, I got to say this. I think this kind of email hurts her. I really do. Really? Maybe it'll help her raise money. That's the goal, I guess, to raise money. You want to put more ads up there and attack Winsome Earl Sears, who's not going to win anyway. But maybe that's what the goal is, just to get more money for attack ads. I don't know. But I think that right now the Hillary Clinton name hurts more than it helps. I just cannot believe. And I actually almost feel like that's true for Kamala. Less so. I know she's number one or number two when you ask Democrats who's going to be, who you would vote for in 28 to be the Democratic nominee. But most people that I talk to have Kamala fatigue. They feel she lost what could have been a winnable election. And I think that's doubly true for Hillary.
I think that Hillary may be better for have Hillary on than Kamala, just because Hillary was so far away now. People have this kind of rose-colored glasses of, oh yeah, no, Hillary just she was cheated out of the election. That's the problem. I don't think these like emails are for us though, Hal. I don't think that when Abigail Spanberger says something, she's not talking to us. She's talking to those government workers in like Arlington, Alexandria, the people who work for like maybe the CIA, the people who are making the like $200,000-$300,000 a year, to those like moderate centrist corporate types. Yeah, I just don't know who these like who these people's advisors are, who's telling them that like this is the winning message, or what they. I don't know. I'll
just finish with this point before we move on. I think you make a fair point, that a good point, not just fair, really a strong point, this is designed to reach certain people who may still look fondly at Hillary Clinton, and that may well be true. And tactically, there may be a real advantage in terms of, yes, you'll get a few extra dollars that you wouldn't normally get. But I think strategically, the Democratic Party is making a terrible mistake, tying itself to these dinosaurs who are not popular, who did not win national elections, who are viewed with great disdain by the great majority of Americans. And it's not like, because that it's unfair. It's not like people look at Hillary and think ill of her unfairly. We're right to think badly about Hillary Clinton. The party needs to embrace, and doing just the opposite, of course, but it needs to embrace young, dynamic, progressive to left leaders. And I'm not even convinced that's Mamdani, but he's about as good as they've got. Plus this guy in Maine, Plattner, seems pretty good. And of course, they're doing everything possible to defeat them. The Democratic elites, the Schumers, who I guess recruited this 77-year-old Janet Mills, now the governor, to run against Plattner. I mean, that's quite an extraordinary, right? I mean, we're too old. We're the octogenarian party. So let's find someone who will be the oldest senator ever elected to run against this young, vibrant oyster fisherman who actually kind of embodies Maine. Let's go after him, right? I mean, brilliant.
Let's bring her out here. Hey, the governor. Yeah. Hey, she won statewide. Let's keep her rolling with the Senate. I mean, it's legit the biggest retirement home that we have. It's the most expensive retirement home. I think, honestly, for a lot of senators too, probably a lot of them aren't in their right minds. I honestly think if some of their staff members wheeled them into a retirement home actually and said, hey, ready, Mr. Senator or Madam Senator, you ready to preside over the lunch counters? They wouldn't know a thing.
It's 100%. That's 100% true. And one other point, and I want to get to this Politico article about Mamdani because, actually I wanted to get to, we'll talk about that in a second, but the other thing about Mills, and I think I heard Sam Cedar talk about this, I don't always agree with him, but I thought he made a really good point. If you do somehow defeat Susan Collins with Janet Mills, so you're running someone who's 6 years older, you lose the argument, well, they've got an old, fossil running for Senate when you've got someone 6 years older, right? So that you lose that argument. But the other problem you have is if you elect a young guy, I think Platner's probably in his 40s, maybe early 50s, I'm not quite certain. He could presumably win 2 or 3 terms. He can keep getting elected. You don't have to worry about finding a new candidate. He has the power of incumbency. There's a real value there. There's benefit to that for the party. You lose all that when you try to sideline him in favor of somebody who'll be in her mid-80s if she somehow wins before the next election.
Well, remember how that's not the plan is probably her to do 2 or 3 terms in her 80s and just be a Dianne Feinstein. We're going to wheel her around, hook her up to an electric battery car, and let her zoom around the Senate marble floors. I mean, it is sad. It is there, and the problem is too that Chuck Schumer, you have to assume he has all the resources in the world through the Senate campaign committees that they have. Why get her? You could have got anyone statewide and just built them up a presence if you wanted just a moderate person. Why get someone who's like 77 years old?
I honestly think she's the only one they think might be able to beat Platner at this point. He has a lot of momentum behind him. He's really good on the stump. His policies, he talks about universal health care. He talks about Medicare for all. He talks about abandoning Israel. That's really popular. That's what people want. And I think the only person they got is Mills. He also doesn't. He also, by the way, is not partisan really. He talks to Republicans too. This is all exactly what they can't stand. They hate that. They're going to try to, and I guess Mills is their one Hail Mary opportunity.
But do they actually think that these people who get in are going to do like this? Like, because I see the Democratic Party's goal is not to have another first term AOC. We're protesting at Nancy Pelosi's office. We're actually like calling out things and all that. I don't think even these like new brand of progressive legislators are even the AOC first term type. I don't see Dan Platner coming out against the party saying anything strong. So I don't even get it even shows the horribleness of like Chuck Schumer to not even be like, cool, we'll embrace this guy. We know he's not going to do anything to us.
Well, Platner said, I'll take a little issue with that, Carl. Platner did say that he would not support Schumer to be the majority or minority leader. He would not vote for Schumer.
I look at that and say
leadership. And didn't AOC, she did vote for she didn't vote for Pelosi, she didn't force the vote. She refused to force the vote, whatever she did. She certainly voted for Hakeem Jeffries.
Yeah. I mean, well, I even say that for like Platner is, all right, cool. If you're not going to vote for Chuck Schumer, would you just vote for like if they put Cory Booker up? Or if they put any other, Dick Durbin up? Like there's not many options in the Senate anyway. Like they're all kind of bad. So I just don't know how much they're all bad.
But if you look at the ratings, like Van Hollen gets a D rather than an F, right, from Schumer. I wouldn't want Van Hollen either. I think it's fair for you to make that point. Obviously, Bernie's too old and he's not even technically a Democrat. So there may not be a great option. But even so, Platner saying I ain't voting for Bernie for Schumer. I think there's value to that.
Yeah. No, I'll give it to you.
Maybe the Ed Markey, although he's getting a challenge too. He's about 90 years old too. He's really old. Too. He's kind of to the left, I guess.
First, not having universal health care. These people surely are lasting a long time out here. They are. Well, Markey's for Medicare for all, so he does. He's a sponsor. Maybe so is Warren. They're not as bad. Schumer's really bad. He's worse than a bunch of them. All right, let's get to this story here. So back on the 15th, you can see that Politico announces or reports that Bill Ackman, an ardent Zionist and right-wing, Trump capitalist, a crony capitalist, obviously doesn't want Mamdani, gives $1 million to defeat Mamdani. This falls in the too little, too late category as far as I'm concerned. But our revolution, our former employer, or my former employer anyway, Carlos, you were a contractor. Yeah, I guess fair enough, fair to say. Although my contracted employer.
Yeah. we both worked for them anyway. Actually, I wasn't even really an employee. To be perfectly honest, I was a staffer. I was a contractee. Yeah, I guess, whatever. We can call ourselves whatever the hell we want. We both worked there. We both got some money from them. And let me see. I want to get rid of this thing here. I don't want to show you. Always have trouble with some of these devices. Okay, so I got this. So they're making hay. Is our revolution out of that $1 million announcement? Right, we're gonna defeat him. We're gonna have all these hate ads and scare people. The scary Muslim. He look at him. He's really intimidating in those pictures. That's apparently a big problem because
I can't see the pictures.
He's not. Let's see if we can get back to. I'll show you that image that they put. I mean, this is like the smiliest, happiest warrior ever. Like right? I mean, he really, really doesn't scare you. He's just that's
scary.
He's really. Well, apparently they can't find a bad picture because Corey Robin, a professor who's a big Mamdani fan, said that the New York Post cannot find a picture of Mamdani that makes him look, scary or weak or nothing. He's always smiling. He looks good. He dresses well. He's got his beard, the whole thing. So they try, though. They do their best.
Oh, always.
They do their best. And our revolution deciding they want to fundraise, right? Let's just, before we give away the store, I got this email yesterday from our revolution. So that's the 19th. The announcement of the $1 million ad campaign funded by Ackman was on the 15th. So I want to go through this because I'm really irritated at our revolution. Maybe other people won't see it this way, but I really do. Dateline Sunday, 19th of October. Pro-Trump hedge fund billionaire Bill Ackman just right there. I highlight that. To me, 4 days isn't just, right? Maybe if it was the day before. Recently. He just dumped. Yeah. I feel like that's kind of a little bit old news already, but they want to alarm you. Oh my God. Oh no, it just happened. This is so scary. Right. So that's what I feel like. Do you think that's a legit concern for me to say that they're making like this whole new this? Oh no, he just dumped it. We all have to get in a dither. Or is that legit?
I mean, it's definitely one of the things that they're like, hey, if it sounds like, oh my gosh, it's just happening, they want people to say, you know what, without thinking, well, let me give y'all $5 here. Let me give you $25 here to come fight it and help fight against it. I mean, at this point, I know people are saying, well, don't call it a done deal yet because anything can happen. I feel like at this point, why do we keep lying to ourselves and not taking the proverbial win? Because I don't consider him winning a win for the left, really. But why don't we just take the win and say, all right, cool, it's looking good.
Well, that's how I see it too, Carlos. But I don't quite see it as a true win for the left either. But I will say this. And I don't even know if the right wing and certainly the corporate Dems, maybe they are a little bit concerned. If they are, that's good. That the joy I get out of a Mamdani win comes more from the pain to the extent there's any inflicted on the elites. That would give me some joy, some pleasure. So to continue with what our revolution is doing in this email that I got yesterday, as I mentioned, is, let's see if I can get this here. I always have trouble with these stupid things. We get the size right. But they don't just scare you with that money. Mm-hmm. Even worse, like you were saying, it's a done deal, right? And the reason we say it's a done deal is we look at the polling, we look at the numbers, we look at what people are saying who are on the ground, and they're all saying, well, Mamdani's going to win. Yeah. But look what our revolution tells you. The polls are tightening as dirty money pours in. So that's the scary headline. The polls are tightening. So I read that and I thought, well, first of all, there's no link, right? Like usually if you say, I would say if I was writing this and I had a poll in mind, I would have like a link. That poll would be highlighted in blue or red or something, and you click it and you'd be like, New York City mayor's race in single digits, Cuomo within hailing distance.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't aware of any polling.
Cuomo voters. Yeah.
Yeah, Cuomo poised to win. But there's no link. So again, they're telling you, oh my God, the polls are so bad for Mamdani suddenly. You better give money. We need money. Give us money. Give us money to help. Which, by the way, also irritates me. Because shouldn't they be saying, if you really need to give money, give it to Mamdani?
Exactly.
Right? Don't give it to pay my salary. Pay it. So I looked at the polls because I was like, wait, that doesn't look right. That doesn't seem right to me that the polls are tightening. So here's the New York. This is update. You see October 19th, 2025. So the latest poll, I don't see tightening there, Carlos.
Hey,
I don't see tightening.
How? You know that 24 points up can change in a heartbeat.
I don't see tightening. Now, we're being funny here, but actually there is a poll. It's not on this chart that did come out. I'm going to show it to folks in a minute, but that's not tightening. This was the list at the New York Times website when the email dropped. Okay. There was, and I went to this long after. So they had the access to the exact same information. The most recent poll that had been published was a Beacon Research poll, which is a bold. Now, the bold means it's considered a qualified pollster. New York Times rates pollsters, and only the good ones get the bold. So the bold there shows him 24, 13, a week earlier. Then there's 18, 20. It looks like, if anything, he's kind of expanding his lead. So, all right. Now, it's not just polls. I also rely heavily, Carlos, as you may well know from watching my show, on the betting markets.
Yep.
So the betting market at the time when that email dropped had Mamdani at 92% likelihood of winning. And so you can see the really orange there. You can see this is Dateline yesterday after the email. And you can also see the spread. The little orange dot is actually even farther higher, and the blue dot, which is Cuomo, is even lower. So that's not tightening. There's no tightening. There's no tightening. And they're telling me it's tightening because they, I guess, want their money. Now, let's be really, really fair. I want to be fair. A poll did come out today. So this was after that email. I don't know. Maybe they knew about this poll. It's hard for me to know how they could have. I didn't know about. But so a new poll came out from Gotham Polling and Analytics, which I don't think is a terrible pollster. But I will say about Gotham, they're not in bold.
Like
you can see they're not select. They do have Mamdani up only 14. So that is basically where it was before. And they've never been a pro Mamdani pollster. So again, where is this coming? Now, the betting market's fine. I'm jabbering on and on, but this really pisses me off. These fear-mongering emails that are trying to separate you from your money, and you need your money. So the latest polling market, this is today. This is after the Gotham polling poll, which apparently Polling Markets doesn't credit. He's at 93%. He's at 93% to win. It just keeps getting better for Mamdani. And our revolution desperate to come up with some way to squeeze just a few pennies. Does that piss you off as much as it pisses you? Does that piss you off as much, Carlos, as it does me? That's my question.
It does. It's trashy, but I do want to say how, to our revolution's credit, you see Curtis Siwa at like under 1%. He may come around. He may come around and be the decider of this election. It is the most selfless, shameful, whatever the term for it is, like plug to just raise money and take money from people. And you're absolutely right. If you want to see him win, why would I donate to our revolution when I can just donate to Zoran's campaign and they can use the money as they see fit? What's the purpose of giving it to a third party entity? Like none of this makes sense at all. It's just a way to fundraise and keep the organization making money. There's no point. There's no point. Take the victory. That's it.
Well, I also think, Carlos, they do a terrible disservice to the movement, because people look at this and they're like turned off. They're irritated. Yeah. I mean, they'll probably get a few people who will click and give, but it doesn't we lose credibility. We lose the argument too. We lose the moral high ground when we do this.
Does our revolution still have that though? Do they still have the moral high ground? Do they still have the credibility? Do they? Because I see our revolution similar to like No Kings, like No Kings with some demands. Like our revolution does have demands of their own that they want. They capitulate a lot of times to kind of like not speak up for their demands, or they go with the whole lesser of two evils type of viewpoint. But I think that this is their thing. And I mean, it's kind of hard, I guess, as an organization when the head of it, which was Bernie Sanders, is kind of like checked out from the organization totally. It's kind of like now they're trying to make up for it. And I also know our revolution to me would have been thriving if you had an actual progressive wave. But now that the progressivism is kind of gone from the Democratic Party, I think our revolution doesn't have a home to go to now. So now they're like, hey, we're just going to do whatever we can just to make money and keep this little this little operation chugging along.
Well, they're so tied in also to the Democratic Party with DNC board members actually on the Our Revolution board. So I think that's another way they lose credibility.
Wait, what?
And it's very unfortunate. Did you not know that? Yeah.
No.
Larry Cohen, who is the chair of Our Revolution, is also on the DNC. And so is the Nebraska State Democratic Chair, Jane Klebb. She is also, she's not just, I think Larry is a regular old DNC member, but Jane has like a title. She's a title at the DNC. World? So they're basically, they have to support. As members of the DNC, my understanding is they are required to support Democrats, every Democrat.
So hooray. They're I mean,
except Zoran Mamdani. I guess they don't have to support him, right?
Yeah. He gets kind of like the little asterisk next to his name.
Yes.
I mean, this just shows our revolution is just here to like do the Democrats' bidding. They're just a regular old. They to me, our revolution, Indivisible. They all kind of center in that same kind of world view. And I mean, even to like the discredit of like Working Families Party. Like Working Families Party isn't a separate party, really. It's just a offshoot of Democrats. So they all kind of relish in this same worldview of we're just Democrats.
They wallow in that Democratic cesspool.
Yep. Like
again, what do we do? I see people have even said, you watch your show and you just complain and you whine and you tell about how bad things are and you're just such a Debbie Downer and I don't need it. I've already got my own problems. So we try to come up with answers here, but because also, Carlos, let me just jump in real quick to my own diatribe. Things are awful. Trump is awful. This is not an excuse for the problem. They suck. The Democrats do indeed suck less. I mean, look at this. I'm going to play this from Chicago. It's horrible. Look at the way they're tossing that woman around like a sack of clothes. It's horrible. These are U.S. federale ICE people, thugs that Trump hired.
Yeah. And those are the type of people who are taking those jobs. Like the people who are taking these like ICE jobs and stuff, these are the people who want to just bully people.
They're just brandishing their machine guns in the friggin' streets. Half of them are covered up. Mm-hmm. This is just awful.
Okay, so this is where I play devil's advocate. How is this worse under Trump than it would be under Democrats? Only saying that, yes, I don't think ICE would be doing this. But I mean, look at all the Black Lives Matter protests, all the other protests that we've had, where look at under Joe Biden, when we had the protests on college campuses, police were doing the same thing. Like police were acting the exact same way. I think just Democrats and Republicans to me are the almost exactly the same amount of horrible, just in different ways. Where with Trump, it's ICE. With Democrats, it's police.
I think I don't have the numbers to back it up. I think Trump takes it to another level. I think it's worse. I think that having these federal agents bringing in Texas National Guard troops into Chicago, that's another level. I'm not disagreeing with you that things were terrible under the Democrats. And my point is more along the lines of, yeah, things are really bad under Trump, and not that they weren't bad under Democrats. We need leaders who are going to take on the elites of both parties. Yeah. And we needed our revolution when we worked there and we had a Democratic president. We needed them to stand up to Biden, and they didn't really. We need, and now they're not. So I think we need objective leftist institutions that will fight against Trump and will fight against the Democrats as well when they do this. And we don't have that.
No, you're right. We need strong third parties. We need even without having strong third parties, we need people who are going to, at the least, just say, if you take any type of PAC money, corporate money, anything, I'm not voting for you. Because I think if we can get to a point where the whole Citizens United is overturned and all that, can we get can we get to a sense of democracy? Yeah, probably. How do we get rid of money in politics? I don't know at this point, because it kind of seems like it's so baked in that it is a part of just American politics. I don't know. I think more people focusing on the local level may be a solution. I don't know how. I know. It's a scary thing when nobody has the answers.
It's really awful. There's just from the New York Times, this is what they show. Look at these thugs there, these ICE thugs throwing smoke bombs to disperse. It's it's really bad.
I get your point here with this, but I also look and say, like, if you would have told me that this was back in 2008 or during Obama's time in office or during Joe Biden's time in office, I couldn't say that was anything like that. I couldn't disagree with you, because for so long we've had Republicans and Democrats doing very fascist and authoritarian things with the police and military, to where we're kind of seeing the same thing. And I think just it's a difference in how the news media covers it, because even when the Palestinian protests were happening on college campuses, the news never really covered it as much as like the police are brutalizing and hurting and trying to kill just students. It was always like, well, you have these like protesters who are making people feel unsafe, so now you have the police coming in. Whereas
the focus was always on those poor Jewish students who were being, insulted, when in fact half the protesters were themselves Jewish. It wasn't,
or even with the Black Lives Matter protest.
It was whether you were a Zionist, whether you were supporting Israel.
And even during the Black Lives Matter protests, we saw that it was more of at first there was some kind of solidarity of like, yes, what happened to George Floyd was wrong. It shouldn't have happened. But as people kept protesting, they scaled it back to saying like, okay, at some point we just got to stop. And they brought out the same police. You saw states bring out National Guard again.
Well, so Obama, put up with the Occupy Wall Street for so long, and then he said, "That's it, I'm done. We're done. Clean it up."
And they went out there cracking skulls too. So it's kind of like we get authoritarian on both sides. It's just right now it's ICE, before it was police. And my thing too is that it's even sad when you see these like Democratic speeches, what they're giving, and Democrats are like messaging now that, oh, if they get back in power, they're going to make the ICE officers take off their masks, and that's it. So great. So now we know the people who are beating us up and killing us. Great.
There's another threat to public safety there. Manhandled by ICE.
Yeah.
And they said that she had thrown a rock. What the reason the justification for arresting Debbie Brockman, who's a reporter, is that she had thrown a rock at an ICE agent. But then they released her a couple hours later because there no
No
rock
evidence.
nobody had
There's
thrown
no
any
rock.
rocks at anybody, but you got to
You
pin
think-
her to the ground and stick your knee in her back for sure.
Oh, of course. Oh, of course. That's how we teach the rest of y'all to shut up and sit there and take it. I mean, but also, what's the response? What's the response if the Trump is out of office or the Democrats take over the House and Senate? What are we going to do to ICE? Nothing. I mean, even in this whole like government shutdown, you don't even hear them talking about, all right, another one of our concessions that we need is to stop this ICE kidnapping people. That's not even being talked about. But you remember, Democrats were the one who started the whole thing about we need to ramp up with ICE and stuff. So what do you do?
Well, I mean, I think we're in agreement, and that's one of my great disappointments with our revolution is that they actually haven't really taken on they certainly didn't take on the Democratic elites. In fact, they've sided with them repeatedly. And then, like with regard to Mamdani trying to fundraise off of a race that's pretty much over. Of course, I say that, and then in 2 weeks, Cuomo will pull it out. But
look, if that happens, we just need to pack it up with the Democratic Party and say, all right, cool.
Could happen. Yeah, then that's the end of the Democratic Party. That happens. All right, if you want to join us again, so I'll take your call, 240-242-5646. We don't have a lot of time, but we have a little bit more time. And I want to get to an issue that does divide Carlos and I to a degree. Carlos and me to divide us, divide me. Yeah, I guess it's divide me and Carlos and me to a degree. And that's we both dislike Gavin Newsom. He vetoed several reparations legislation bills, kind of like his East Coast counterpart, Wes Moore.
Well, see, they're in good company.
The governor of Maryland, but he also signed a few. What's your take on this story? Let me just go. California launched Historic Reparations Office. So he did sign some of the legislation, Carlos. I thought it was interesting what Newsom signed here, including ways to identify descendants of slaves who would be perhaps eligible, although not in the bills that he signed. That was one of his the positive bills that he signed was, that we're going to try to identify. What do you think of that? Do you think that's a good first step anyway, or is this
not? I won't say it's a good first step, just because California had legislation on the book on the within the assembly there to set up reparations, to get the system together for reparations to disperse, whether it's resources, money, however they want to do it. Gavin Newsom is trying to play the political game, and I think he's like, I don't want to seem like I am for reparations, but then I don't want to just signal to black people that, hey, look, I don't really care at all. So let me try to do something that is in the middle. It's similar to how Wes Moore handled it, of like, no, we shouldn't have reparations, but I can talk about it. We can do a symbolic office. For Gavin Newsom to do an office of reparations, it's just symbolism, because yes, you can identify who gets it, but you're not giving them anything. So it's just, oh, I know you all need help. I'm not going to help you, but now I know you need help.
Well, Moore did kind of the same thing. You're exactly right. Maryland, I think, was a little bit ahead of California. They had put together a sort of an outline or a procedure for paying reparations to descendants of slaves, American descendants of slaves, but he then vetoed the recommendation. I think that I got that right. I might be wrong, but I believe he vetoed the recommendation. In California, what Newsom did agree to is this structure for reparations, so where they're going to put together a bureau to include a division of genealogy, education, outreach, and legal affairs. I think it's kind of interesting. I mean, is it really... I guess what they're really concerned about, or they say or the ostensible concern, is that people who are black but who aren't descendants of American slaves would somehow get $1 out of this program. It seems, I could be totally wrong, and this is my white, suburb guy talking. I think we can pretty well tell by looking at people whether they're likely to be. And I know there's people from Haiti and from, they were never slaves. Their families weren't slaves in America, and people from Africa. But I don't know. I think most we know, don't we? Do we not know? Help me out with this,
We
Carlos.
don't. Not definitely not. I'll say because it's people who they could be themselves American born, but their grandparents may be from Sudan. Their great grandparents may be from the Democratic Republic of Congo or Jamaica or something. It's a lot of Black people walking around whose ancestors do not go back to slavery here within the country. I think that there are also some arguments that just because you are not a direct descendant of slavery that you should not get reparations. It's some people who believe that they should get some form of reparations because you still have to deal with the same societal stuff that we deal with, or I'll say to a point, because there's also this model minority theory that puts African and Caribbean immigrants above American-born descendants of slavery, Black people, and it's even going back to how some people on the not just the left, but also from the foundational Black Americans as well, who classify where's I going with this? Oh yes, they classify that you could have a President Obama or like a President Kamala Harris because in the back of people's minds, yes, they are quote unquote Black, but they're not descendant of slavery Black. Whereas Obama father comes from Kenya, and also Kamala Harris's father comes from Jamaica.
I think Jamaica, right?
Yep,
and then her mom was Indian, and Obama's mom was white, so they're not descendants of slaves. And I understand that argument, but I understand what you're saying too. I think there's a flip side of that, which is just what you said. Look, it's not like after slavery everything was fine. So unless you're, go back 5 generations, 6 generations, and there was someone who was an American slave, you're fine. To me, the argument that's for me, it's actually stronger for reparations is, well, after slavery, there wasn't 40 acres and a mule that was provided to the descendants of slaves. There wasn't some kind of policies designed to provide, catch up and to provide some kind of pathway towards true economic justice and liberation. None of that was there. And in fact, just the opposite. After people in the North got tired of, what was it after the war? What was it called when the troops were there and they, you know what I'm talking about, Carlos?
Reformation?
Was it, say again?
Reformation.
Not Reformation. In the South, you know what? When the U.S. troops were in the South and they made the elections, they forced the South to allow blacks blacks to vote.
I'm not thinking of the term.
It was U.S. grant. This is awful. How can we? Reconstruction. So after Reconstruction, you had Jim Crow, which was, horrible and almost as bad. Some ways worse. You had not worse, but in certain ways, because you had lynching and other ways to terrorize African Americans or descendants of slaves who tried to vote. So I think those are all strong arguments in favor of reparations. In the end, I'm not a big fan. I think what's a better way to go. And I think this kind of points out what I would say, Carlos, is for all those African Americans who are not doing well, blacks who are not doing well now, let's make sure we give them help. We provide for them, regardless of whether they can trace their ancestry to slaves in this country.
There needs to be a overall lifting of the boat for everybody, and then there also needs to be targeted support and resources to communities that have been systemically disadvantaged at the same time. And I think that's where this reparations conversation gets hung up for a lot of people, because they view it as either one or the other and not both.
Well, I thought this was a really bad veto. Without directly responding to what you said, although I agree with it, I really disagreed with this veto, and it tells me a lot about, I think, Newsom. He he vetoed one that would have allowed colleges to prioritize descendants of American slavery. I'm not sure how I feel about that. On the one hand, I don't really love necessarily affirmative action or DEI. On the other hand, if you're going to provide certain, I don't know, if you're going to reach out to communities, there's no community that deserves reach out or outreach more than that community, as well as community of Native Americans or indigenous peoples here. But what really pisses me off, Carlos, is why would you veto a restitution process for victims of racially motivated eminent domain? You know, when you build a highway through a black neighborhood because you figure, they're not going to care, those black people anyway, we'll just take their homes. Those are the exact people I want to see get restitution right now.
Exactly. It is. Well, I'll actually break it up in two parts. The prioritizing, it's weird that he vetoed that when the Democrats made such a big stink about DEI and affirmative action going away. So you would think that would be a easy layup for them. And when it comes to the restitution process, that doesn't even make sense to why you would veto that. It's not even saying that everyone does get restitution. It's just setting up a process for people. And that's the thing. Democrats a lot of times don't even want to set up the process because they don't want that like illusion of, oh, I am actually capitulating or caring about this problem or this issue. But this is Gavin Newsom in presidential mode. He's thinking, well, I don't want to do this because it's going to piss off this section of voters, And the problem is the people who don't like you are already not going to like you. But now you're turning your back on, again, the black base that the Democrats need to be able to even win an election.
Well, one other point. I mean, I understand the political juggling. You know, if I give these black people something, then the poor whites and the working class whites, they'll be easy prey to demagogues on the right who will point out how they're being left behind and their tax money is going. But if you have a restitution process for victims of racially motivated eminent domain, you don't even necessarily have to have that money coming from taxpayers. You can go to the big banks. You can go to Wells Fargo and say, you profited from this unjust, racist policies. You pay for it, not the taxpayer, the bank. Or you could say to a developer, a big development company, you pushed for the block where you move everyone out in a block, you scare people, and and so we're going to make you, because you're the developer, you're going to have to pay for it. So you could do this in a way that is somewhat populist, but he, of course, isn't going to do that. Going to want to gore the rich man's ox. That's one issue.
That's it.
The other thing is, I think what you said, Carlos, is so correct. We have certain identifiable groups in this country who have clearly been treated worse, badly, suffer because they're members of that group. We also have members of groups that you could argue in general have been privileged, but they themselves are doing really poorly. You have to address both. Make sure every individual is doing well. All the boats are at a fair level, but also raise up communities that have suffered. One way to do that, very popular, Medicare for all. And I believe the California legislature even passed that at one point, and Newsom vetoed it.
Yep. No, Or did he veto it, or did they like pressure the sponsors to like drop the bills? It didn't even let it get that far. But you're right. There was like a cow care bill that Gavin Newsom was like, yeah, we're not doing that now, which was a promise. So again, it is these big, and also we've talked about this before. People would be more open to these kind of targeted, directly benefiting a particular group legislation if we also had universal programs where people feel like, hey, my life is going to get better, so we do need to address this problem that's been going on.
I think that's right. You're right. Also, Newsom did not veto single payer. It was blocked in committee, just like you said. I think there had been a bill passed under a previous governor. Maybe I'm wrong. That was also vetoed. Yes, there would be much more support for policies that are designed to help members of traditionally disadvantaged or targeted communities if everyone felt like, it's the deck is relatively fairly dealt, and no one's getting all the aces and no one's getting all the deuces. I think if that were the case, you would find much more universal support. Just like we were able to pass, amazingly, civil rights legislation in the 60s when there was less inequality.
Yeah. I mean, and the craziest thing, too, is that Democrats, to me, look at Black people a lot of times with that whole, what did Joe Biden like? I couldn't have won this presidency without Black people. And then the moment you get in is, I can't do anything to help Black people because then I'll be selfish, or I'm just thinking about one particular group. And I mean, look at voting rights. Remember when they kept parading in front of Black people that you have to care about voting rights, because if voting rights doesn't get passed, we'll never see a Democrat in office again. They never did it. And now the Supreme Court's going to gut voting rights. And now what are they going to come next year? They're going to tell Black people, you got to get out there and do it. Just go vote and figure it out. So,
Carlos, it's always great to have you on. I'm going to give you did have a final word, but take another final word if you like. And I really look forward to doing the podcast with you this afternoon.
Same here. Yeah, my final words is just people have demands, as always have a demand for your elected official. Even if you're a part of a group that doesn't have a demand for yourself. At least have 3 things that you're like, hey, if I have to vote for you, you have to support these 3 things. Purity tests are good. Litmus tests are good. Don't just say I'm voting for you because you're the lesser of 2 evils, because at the end of the day, that's still evil.
All right. Great talking to you, Carlos. Thank you so much. Thanks to all who watched, who listened. Please, again, one last time, click like, click subscribe. And thank you so much for being part of Halitics. Before I close out the show, Carlos, just stick with me for one moment afterwards. I just want to talk briefly about logistics for this afternoon.
Yep, I got you.
Enjoy your afternoon, everybody.